Frank had been working for 3 entire years in the car sale atlas. He has always been in the selling department and always showed good effort in what he did, never questioning his boss's rules. One day, he was given the chance of his life to be promoted to administrator of the company, only if he completes a trip in a certain time limit to 4 US cities where he has to visit the company's buildings seeing how they are doing on their work. Dave, Frank's boss and the CEO of Atlas, gives Frank the order of the cities he needs to visit in order. He starts in Los Angeles, then he goes to New York, later he goes to Las Vegas, and finally he travels to Chicago. But the only condition is that he can only go on 2 trips by bus and 2 in an airplane under the budget his Dave gave him. If Frank doesn't accomplish the mission in time or according to his terms, he would not get the promotion he deserves, and he says recently his mother was diagnosed with back cancer, preventing her from walking. This was really meaningful to Frank as his father had died some past time and the only close relative he had left was his mother, so he can't let this great opportunity go away and he must prove himself to Dave that he is worthy of that promotion. He was ready to start the journey of his life, the trip that will promote him from employee to commercial director. To start things, he took a taxi to Los Angeles Airport to take the flight F461 going to New York, departing at 5 a.m. and arriving at 10 a.m. Frank arrived in New York in time, so he immediately took a taxi to the company where a representative of the company took him on a walk showing all the car dealerships. Everything was going as expected until, walking he saw in the area of resembling cars, all the personnel were seeing the phones and not caring about their job. Frank just took out a notebook for annotations. It continued until they finished in the principal office where they had a talk. When Frank was in the hotel finishing getting the data of his next flight when his phone started ringing. Dave asked how the company had and why. Frank told Dave about the good functioning of the company but that there was only one bad thing. In the dealership part of the company all the personnel were seeing their phones and not caring about the process of reassembly. Dave's answer was, okay, I would talk with the one in charge to see what is happening. Next morning Frank was preparing his things to get to the bus station where he would get the bus to Las Vegas. He would get out at 4 a.m. and the bus was to the Las Vegas bus station at 4 p.m. the same day. When he stepped out the bus saw 2 people that he seemed to recognize. When he got a better look he saw 2 old friends from school back when he was in 4th grade. They started talking for a long time, but he needed to work so they told Frank that they needed to get out at night. Later he was going in a taxi to the company. When he arrived, the one giving the walk of the company was one that had the same job Frank had. They finished in a restaurant that was in front of them and talked all afternoon about what they have done since they separated. Until around 6 p.m. he needed to do the check-in in the hotel. At the same time he was talking with Dave about how the company work had been done there. Around 9 p.m. he had another phone call and it was Michael, friend, that was with Trevor, friend, that they would hang out in a discotheque if he can come. He answered, yes, I am going. The next day, he woke up at a hotel where everywhere he looked was all messed up. The sofa was turned around, there were bottles of beer everywhere, even there was a freaking tiger in the bathroom. Frank couldn't even imagine what happened the night before, and most importantly, when he took a look at his watch, it was 11 a.m. already and he had missed his flight by 4 hours. He couldn't believe he just got into, just for turning apart from his main objective due to a little time of fun. He rapidly went to Michael to wake him up to ask him what had happened. He, briefly, told him that they had the party of their lives, that they felt like the old times where they party all night until Frank left it apart to focus on his career. Frank didn't know if to be pissed with them as he accepted to hang out with them knowing how they were and the great responsibility he had on his shoulders. But this wasn't time to throw everything through the window. He had to find a way to solve the big problem he has gotten into. So, he didn't give up and quickly rushed to his phone in search of a new flight before Friday, which was the day he needed to be back in Los Angeles with Dave. But, to his misery, there weren't any flights available not until Saturday, which was useless to him. Frank thought that all hope was gone, but to his illness, Trevor quickly told him that he is a pilot as a hobby and that he gratefully would take him to Chicago for dragging Frank into the party. So, without wasting any time, Frank and his buddies quickly went to the hangar where Trevor had his airplane and went straight off to Chicago's airplane. Once in Chicago, Frank immediately headed to the building of the company to report himself. There, the manager there asked him why he was late and why he didn't report himself he was gonna be late. It was at that moment that he knew everything was hanging in what he responses with, his future's career, his mother's health, everything was pending on one response. So he decided, he needed to lie. Hal has always been a noble person, never lying to obtain what he wants and moving on, but he needed to approach it this time. So he, in a matter of seconds, said that he was arrested as a misunderstanding of the police as they confused him for a drug leader dominating the Las Vegas drug business, as he was dressing heavy clothes because of how cold it was and the way he was walking due to the weight. The manager immediately understands the situation, told him that Dave surely will understand it. Frank, miraculously couldn't believe the lie had saved him, but only for this time. He did every business he had to do in Chicago, called his boss and told him everything he had passed on. Ironically, he believed everything and gratefully told him to go back to LA for his recognition. After all, the time limit didn't matter as for the situation Dave believed, and he didn't suspect it anything as the trust he had on Frank.